I used to spend every winter break at my uncle's cabin near Birchwood Lake, a place so quiet the snow seemed to swallow sound. No cars, no neighbors, just the groan of the old wooden frame and the wind pushing against the windows. The first 2 nights were calm. I read by the fire, melted snow for water, and watched the lake freeze over until it became a glassy sheet reflecting the moon. But on the 3rd night, I woke up to something strange. Not a noise, not exactly, more like pressure, as if someone were standing just outside my bedroom door. I held my breath, listened. Nothing. Just the crackle of the dying fire downstairs. I eventually fell asleep again. The next morning, I noticed footprints on the back porch. Human, bare, leading from the tree line to the cabin and stopping at the door. The temperature had dropped to -12 degrees Celsius. No one should be walking barefoot. I brushed it off, telling myself I just hadn't noticed them before. But when night came, the feeling returned. The weight of someone watching me through the thin wooden walls. At 2:17 a.m., the house settled with a long groan. But then, steps. Soft, careful, moving across the porch again. Then, a tap on the window. I froze in bed. Another tap. Then a dragging sound, like a hand sliding along the frozen glass. I didn't have the courage to look. The next morning I found something new. The footprints were back, except now there were 2 sets, one leading toward the house, one leading away. But halfway across the yard, the second trail suddenly stopped, just ended, like the person had vanished mid-step. I called my uncle, but the reception was terrible. His last words before the call dropped were, "Stay inside tonight. Lock everything." That night, I sat downstairs with the fire burning high, listening to the storm rage outside. The snow hit the windows like handfuls of sand. Around 3 a.m., the power died. I was left in total blackness. At first, there was only wind. Then, the porch boards creaked. Footsteps, slow, heavy. A shape passed in front of the window, a tall, pale outline, barely discernible through the frost. Then it spoke, a whisper, almost curious. "Is someone awake?" Every muscle in my body locked. I didn't breathe. The figure leaned close to the window, and I heard the faintest sound, as if it were smelling the air. The door handle moved, slowly, gently, testing. I backed away, gripping the fireplace poker. The handle stopped. Silence. Then a voice, soft, wrong, like someone trying to imitate human speech. "Cold. Let me in." I didn't sleep. I didn't move. When the sun finally rose, the shape was gone, but something else remained. In the snow, right outside the door, were handprints instead of footprints, pressed deep, each one with 3 long finger marks, as if whatever stood there had been leaning forward, supporting its weight, listening. I left the cabin that morning and never returned to Birchwood Lake. But sometimes, during winter storms, when everything outside goes quiet, I swear I still hear that voice in my dreams. "Cold. Let me in." I rented the cabin because I needed silence. Silence for writing, for breathing, silence to feel like myself again. The place was 30 minutes outside a small mountain town, perched on a ridge where the wind sounded like a living thing. The owner warned me, "Storm season comes early up here. Nights get loud. Don't be scared of the noises." I thought she meant raccoons, maybe a fox. The first night, the power went out at 2 a.m. I woke up because the room had suddenly gone bone cold. When I checked the time, it was 3:17 a.m. At first, it was only the sound of snow shifting outside, soft, distant, but then a single, heavy step in the snow. Not walking, just standing there. I pulled the curtain aside only an inch. The moonlight reflected off the snow so brightly that the world looked colorless, almost dead. I didn't see anyone, but directly in front of the cabin, about 20 feet away, I saw a deep footprint in the snow. Just one, facing the cabin. I told myself it was an illusion of shadows, a trick of the storm. This time, the sound woke me before the lights died. A slow, dragging sound, as if something was pulling its weight through the snow. When I looked outside, I froze. The footprint from the night before was still there, but now there was a second one, and this one was closer. The steps were spaced too far apart to be human, too deep for anything smaller than an elk, yet shaped like a barefoot print. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The cabin shook once, a thud so heavy it vibrated the floorboards. Then another, coming from outside, slow, steady, approaching the window. I didn't want to look, but I couldn't help myself. There were now 5 footprints, forming a line straight toward my cabin. The last one was only 3 feet from the window. My breath fogged the glass as I leaned closer. Outside, something huge stood just beyond the faint halo of my porch light, not moving, not breathing, just watching. I dropped the curtain and crouched on the floor, holding my breath. The thuds stopped, but something began sweeping across the cabin walls, like fingers, long, frozen, brushing the wood. I didn't sleep at all. I packed my things before sunset. I would leave at dawn, storm or not. When the clock hit 3:17 a.m., every light I had left on flickered, then died. The cabin went absolutely silent. Then, 6 slow steps, right outside my window. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Something leaned close, close enough that the frost on the glass rippled outward like breath, but colder. Then, a voice, not spoken, not whispered, just inside my head. "Let me see your face." The window frame cracked, only once, like something dragging a fingernail along the wood. I couldn't take it anymore. I ran out the back door into the snowstorm, not caring where I went. I didn't look back. I reached the main road around sunrise, half frozen, shaking violently. A snowplow driver found me and took me into town. When we went back with the owner to collect my things, she went pale. In a perfect line, leading straight to the window beside my bed, there were 7 massive footprints. But there were none going back. Just a line, ending at the window. Like whatever it was had finally reached me and didn't need to walk away. My father used to say that winter changes the forest. Snow swallows sound, cold slows everything down, and the woods become a place where the living and the dead walk much closer to each other. I never believed him, until the winter of 2019. I was staying at my uncle's old hunting cabin, deep in the northern woods. It was isolated, buried in snow, with a frozen lake stretching behind it like a sheet of dull glass. Every night the temperature dropped so fast the wood of the cabin cracked like gunshots. On the third night, I heard something new. Not the cracking of the walls, not the wind. Knocking from underneath the cabin floor, slow, rhythmic, deliberate. At first I thought it was ice shifting under the foundation. But then the knocking moved, traveling from one corner of the cabin to the other, as if someone, or something, was crawling beneath me. I stepped outside with a flashlight, boots sinking into the snow. The air was so cold it felt sharp enough to cut skin. I followed the sound to the frozen lake, and that's when I noticed something that stopped me in my tracks. Handprints. Frozen into the ice. Not one, dozens, as if people had pressed their palms from underneath. They were positioned in a strange pattern, circling the center of the lake. I told myself it was a trick of thaw and refreeze. Ice does weird things. But as I got closer, I realized some of the prints were fresh. No snow had gathered in them. That night, the knocking came back, faster this time, more desperate. And now there was another sound mixed with it. Muffled voices, whispering, crying, pleading. It felt like they were right under my bed. I barely slept. Every hour the cabin shuddered as if something pushed up from below, testing the floorboards. The whispers grew clearer. Not words I recognized, more like breath and sadness mixed with ice. By dawn, I made a decision. I needed to leave. While packing, I glanced outside the window and froze. The handprints on the lake had multiplied, hundreds of them forming a spiral. And at the center of that spiral was an outline, a human silhouette, pressed up against the ice from below. Face turned upward, mouth open. I ran outside, slipping through the snow, knowing I shouldn't get close, but unable to look away. When I reached the lake, something happened that I will never forget. The silhouette moved. Just a twitch, like a person trying to raise their hand. Then the ice cracked. A thin fracture shot from the figure straight toward where I was standing. I stumbled back, my breath breaking into clouds. Something beneath the ice followed my movement, as if tracking me. I didn't wait any longer. I grabbed my bag, sprinted to the truck, and drove until the forest was a blur behind me. Even from the road, I could see the lake in my mirror, spider-web cracks spreading across the surface like veins. I haven't returned to that cabin since. But sometimes, in the coldest nights of winter, I catch myself hearing that same slow knocking. And I can't help wondering, what happens when the ice finally breaks?